Here we go. Hey guys, so I'm Stephanie. I haven't made a video on my main channel in a really long time. There's many reasons of why I haven't. If I'm focused on YouTube, I'm probably focused on my other channel, which I'll have linked down below. Are you kidding me? Right when I go to sit down to film. I'm going to call this video a story time, but it's not like a story time that has been really big on YouTube. Story times you see are probably things that are really funny and stuff, whereas this is very serious. This story time video is going to be about losing my mom. That's a very serious topic. I lost my mom about over 2 years ago to ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease. And basically what that disease does is it can either start from your throat or your legs, and my mom got it starting from her throat. And basically what started happening is that she started to not being able to swallow. She was having trouble talking. She had to get a talking machine at one point. She had to get a feeding tube put in. It was just a really hard time in all of our lives, but especially in her life, and I don't even know how she went through that. So I remember that in the summer of 2012 we went on a Disney cruise to Alaska, and it was a lot of fun, but I remember my mom complaining about having back issues and like neck issues. I just remember her complaining about being in some sort of pain, and you know, me being 14, I really was just like, oh, my mom's getting old. This is, you know, her middle age crisis, you know, because my mom was a very active human being. So it was like she went to the gym every day. She was eating healthy. That's just, you know, who she was. Well, I was going into my freshman year in high school, and I was at the exact same school I'd been to since second grade. I was lucky enough to get to go to a private Christian school, and I started yearbook, and yearbook during that time met after school. So whenever the days I didn't have dance, I would have yearbook. So I remember my mom telling me that she was going to be late picking me up because she had a doctor's appointment. So to either see if I can find someone else to take me home, or it would just take her a little bit longer to get to the school. So I'm like, okay, yeah, you know, do you, whatever. Again, I was in La La Land. I'm in love with One Direction. My life is perfect. And yeah, that's something else I should point out, that my life at that point was amazing. That was probably some of the best times in my life, was literally 8th grade to the middle of freshman year. I just loved. Life was really, really good. Anyways, I remember that day. Both my parents came to the school, and they came in early to pick me up. And I remember that was very, very strange. And so they picked me up early. Again, this is after school yearbook, so they picked me up early from yearbook, which my mom said that she was going to be late to. So I'm knowing that something's up, because they never come pick me up together. We get into the car, and I remember, like, you know, trying to create conversation. I'm like, oh, so how'd, you know, the doctor's appointment go and all this? And they're like, we'll talk about it when we get home. The drive home from school is about 10 minutes, so it's normally not that long. I remember it felt like an eternity. It took forever. We got home, and they sat me down in the kitchen, and they told me that my mom had ALS. And I remember thinking, I just remember feeling a sense of relief, because I was so happy she didn't have cancer. I was so scared that they were going to tell me she had a tumor or something, that she had cancer. And I said that out loud, and my mom just started crying. And I knew then that that wasn't a good sign. And my dad was like, Stephanie, this is worse than cancer. This can't be treated, whereas cancer can't be treated. And all of a sudden my world just stopped. Everything went on pause. I felt like the world had just exploded right in front of me. And I was like, wait a minute, can she die from this? And when they told me yes, I remember feeling like I was in a nightmare. I didn't think any of this was real. I thought like they were playing a joke on me. I was like, no, my mom's the strongest human being. I know she's not gonna die. You know, when you're 14, you think your parents are invincible and that they're gonna live forever and that they're gonna take care of you forever. It's like nowhere in your head that they're gonna get sick and die. Well, I remember as soon as we got done with the conversation, I ran up to my room and called my best friend at the time, Cassie McCurdy. There's two Cassies, that's probably going to come up in the story. Two friends named Cassie, so shout out to them. I remember calling my friend Cassie McCurdy, and she picked up like on the second ring, and I told her what had happened, and she just was like, can I pray for you? That was the first thing she said. We prayed on the phone. And the thing about Cassie is Cassie's mom had just gone through breast cancer, and she just had gotten, she'd just gone over having breast cancer, and she was, totally okay. So immediately that made our friendship bond even closer because we have a common issue. It was very, very hard. It was very hard for me to tell her. You can't really tell your friend, my mom's sick and she's dying, but, I had to. Again, I went to a private Christian school. It was very small. I think graduating, we had 53 seniors this past year who graduated. And I had known most of them, again, since the second grade. We told one of the parents that work at the school. We told her what happened, and she asked if we wanted people to know about it, and I said yes. I said it's going to travel around. I don't want to have to answer questions. Let's just somehow beat it out of the bush and get it done. So she sent out an email asking for prayers and stuff, and I remember feeling like people should pity me, and I know that's really stupid to say, but I had felt like for a while like people were becoming a little bit more meaner to me, and I felt like people should start pitying me, and that's the complete opposite of what I needed at the time. But again, I was 14. Everything was about me, and I really didn't care. Now looking back on that, I kind of want to slap my little 14-year-old face and say you need to, focus on what needs to be done. We went on life as normal. My mom was fine. She was fine for a full year even. I remember having a really big issue towards the end of freshman year, and I started getting really depressed. I started losing a couple friends. A lot was happening, and my life just felt like it wasn't going to work out. I remember just feeling so depressed and crying, not wanting to go to school, and focusing about me, whereas my mom's over here dealing with this illness that may eventually kill her, and I'm worrying about this stupid issue at school. Now that I look back at that, it's another reason why I slapped myself. We went on another Disney cruise, and my mom was completely fine. I ended up meeting my best friends on that trip, as you probably know if you watched one of my last videos. Jocelyn and Sarah were both on it. Met them on that cruise. Which is something that I really, really needed at the time, and I still need. And I feel like God placed those two people in my life for a reason. I'm very happy He did. My family is really big Christians. God is our number one. When we do something, we do it through how He would see it. I am planning on going to a Christian university. It's just how we are, and obviously I went to private Christian school. I'm friends with a bunch of people who aren't Christians. I'm not one of those people that try to get people to believe in God, but my parents were really big on healing, and they wanted to see healing in my mother. And we ended up going back to California, where we used to live, and we went to church there to have my mom get prayed over. We spent some time at Disneyland. I had no clue the only reason my parents took the trip was because my mom wanted to say her last goodbyes to all of her friends back home. I just thought we were going to Disneyland, you know, going to get my mom prayed for. At this point, I'm convinced my mom's gonna get healed. I am convinced. Hopefully you can't hear that. My dad's listening to something really insane. I'm sorry I had to move the camera a bit closer, and I had my phone with the flash on trying to get better lighting. So anyways, I didn't know that the trip to California was basically her saying goodbye to all of her friends back home in California. And that really became clear to me later in the year. I'm trying to think. Sophomore year, the beginning of sophomore year was fine, the beginning of it. Towards the middle of the first semester, we started seeing more problems with Mom. Her hands started to get really shaky when she was driving. She almost drove into a ditch because we lived on back roads at the time, and because she would drive me to dance and back. And by then I had my permit, so I could technically drive myself with her in the car. We just became really worried about my mom driving, and we tried to see if I could get one of those licenses that you can get when you're 15, just so that way you can go to school and come home by yourself. But seeing that my mom was still able to drive at the time, they wouldn't grant us it. So we just kind of settled that. Also, I switched dance studios because I used to dance about an hour away from my house, and we changed it to where I started dancing again at my school. So it was, again, I was already at school. I would just go to dance and, you know, come home. Around, trying to think, in December, things took a turn for the worse. That is the best way I can describe it. We had to sit down with my mom and tell her she couldn't drive anymore, which she did not believe us. Again, this is the strongest woman I know. She is very stubborn. She was very stubborn, and she, you know, wouldn't take no for an answer. So we were in there, my dad and I were in there yelling at my mom, "You can't drive. You're gonna kill yourself. Or you're gonna kill yourself and you're gonna kill me. Or whoever is in the car." I just remember her crying, because that was the one thing she still had, was to be able to get out of the house. She was a stay-at-home mom. And so then she was just stuck at home unless I or my dad took her out. At this point, we had to watch my mom almost every hour of every day. Someone had to be home all the time. And luckily at that point, I was on Christmas break. My dad had just sold his business that he had been having. He had a nursing company that he sold. So we had some money from that, because we were going broke at that point too, because we had all these doctor bills and all that. So we had a lot of money after, you know, selling the business. And about, I think it was after Christmas, or it was after New Year's. It was about like 1 or 2 days after New Year's. I went downstairs to sleep on the couch, because for some reason I couldn't sleep in my bed that night, and I did that every once in a while. And whenever I couldn't sleep, I would just go downstairs and put the TV on. My dad woke me up around, I'd like to say 6, and told me to go back up to my bed and then go to sleep there. So I went up to my room, went to sleep. He came barging in my room about 5-10 minutes later and told me I needed to put the cats in my parents' room and close the door. Really sorry for the bad filming here, and I also have this cooler thing making a lot of noise, but I went in really deep detail of this part of the story, and it basically is me rambling, so I just wanted to really kind of clarify what happened in a quicker manner now that I'm sitting here editing it. So basically what happened is my mom started choking on pudding, because she used to take pudding to take her pills because she couldn't swallow, and she started choking on that. So my dad called the ambulance. I put our cats in their room, because their litter box was in their bathroom, so that way they wouldn't come running around when the ambulance came to the house. The ambulance came, I rode with her to the hospital, and I had to sign a bunch of forms. And basically in the video I was saying that's when I really felt like I was having to grow up, because my dad was back at the house trying to find all of her paperwork because she couldn't have certain medicine and stuff like that. So that was a really big crucial part in basically me feeling like I had to grow up through this situation. Now, basically what ended up happening basically what ended up needed to happen was my mom needed to get her feeding tube put in about 2 weeks earlier because she couldn't swallow. So that's the reason that we were in the emergency room. We weren't sure if my mom was going to make it out of surgery because of how bad she had gotten. So that was a really scary time for my family and for, all of our friends, because we were really nervous that she could have died in surgery. We were at Vanderbilt, and that is probably the best hospital in Nashville, and they have an ALS, clinic there. So if you know anyone who has ALS, they really should look into it. It's an amazing program with amazing doctors. So that's basically what happened. I ended up flipping back and forth between friends' houses. My really good friend Cassie Wampler, not the same Cassie from earlier, a different Cassie, I stayed with her for a few days, and she was actually someone that I stayed at her house a lot through, particularly towards the end when my mom started, progressively getting worse. So I ended up staying with her for a while, and I ended up staying with a family friend, Grace, who's like my sister. I stayed with her a lot during that time. So basically that's what ended up happening. We got home and everything was good. And we realized that I was about to start going back to school in a few days. And lucky enough, we got a snow day the first day we were supposed to go back. And everything was good. But again, my dad had gotten another job, because obviously he needed a job, and my mom could not be home alone, and we could not afford to have a caregiver coming and take care of her. My dad ended up swinging by school and talking to my headmaster. They decided that I was going to do independent studies from home, so I was going to get all my work throughout the week, do it at home while I'm taking care of my mom, and then have to bring it back to school and take tests and stuff like that at school. For the most part, there were some tests I was able to take at home, and there were some tests I couldn't. I remember all my friends being so jealous of me. I just remember that. But a lot of my grades were going down because obviously I wasn't in class, so I had to FaceTime some teachers, which was stressful. It was really stressful. But I got it done. I ended up getting really good grades. I was really proud of myself. The fact that I was doing it from home and got to kind of make my own schedule for the week of when I got to do my work and when I took care of my mom really did help. What was really nice is my friends kind of organized a birthday party for me at my house for my 16th birthday. We had a bonfire, we watched some movies. It was a lot of fun. They did something though that I will always hold deep in my heart. The whole class got together and, they made me this huge card, which I still have. I have it hanging on one of my walls. And, they signed it saying how much they missed me. But I opened up another thing and they got me really good seats to the upcoming One Direction concert in August. That may seem really stupid for some of you guys. Oh my god, One Direction, that's so stupid. I couldn't afford those tickets. My parents tried their best to, get like the cheapest seats. We could not afford it. It was way too expensive. They got me really nice seats. Like, we weren't stage close or anything, but we had really nice seats. They got me 2 of them, and not only that, they, got together like $100 to $200 so I can get souvenirs and go out to eat before the concert. To this day, I don't think I've said enough how grateful I am for that. We had a senior talk at the beginning of this past school year where we kind of talked about all of our favorite memories, and I had to say thank you because I still hadn't given a formal thank you to everyone, and everyone was there. So again, if you're watching this, thank you. If you contributed any to that made me feel really, really good. Towards the beginning of summer, I went out to Nashville Zoo with my really good friend Alyssa, and I spent the night with her. And I remember getting a call the next morning saying I needed to rush home. So Alyssa lives about an hour away from me at the time. Now she lives even further because we moved. Drove all the way home, and we got there, and my mom, she was doing bad. It went from 0 to 100 overnight. Because literally the day before she was up doing laundry, she was, active, she was talkative, she could not talk. She could not get a word out. And we had to say our goodbyes to my mom. No, it wasn't that day that we had to say goodbyes. Cassie came and picked me up. And I spent the night over at her house that night. Came back the next day. And I believe that was the day I had to say goodbye to my mom. It was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. We were actually taking her to the hospice center because she had been in hospice, but we didn't tell her that because we didn't want her to worry even more about herself because she was already scared. I mean, she's dying here. I don't remember what I said to her. I just remember telling her how much I loved her and how she was the best mom I could ever ask for, and how she'll always be with me, and how my love for her will exist always. I just remember seeing a single tear come down her face because, again, she could not talk to me. She couldn't respond back to me at all. And I just remember it was really hard, guys. Really hard. And that was the last time I ever saw my mom, too. I spent the night at Grace's house. And the next day was the day she was going to hospice. And I know he didn't mean it out like this, but my dad was giving me kind of text updates telling me what was going on. And I had a group text with a lot of my close friends who wanted, to keep updating them and stuff. Because we knew she was going to go any day. At that point, it was when? We were just waiting for it. Again, I know he didn't mean to do it like this, but my dad sent me a text saying that the ambulance to take her to hospice is in the driveway. They loaded her in, but she stopped breathing. I'm sorry. I remember thinking to myself, what? I immediately call him, and he'd already been calling the funeral home trying to inform them of this. My dad's one of those people, when something happens, he just wants to get everything else. He wants to handle everything else before he has time to comprehend what had just happened. So he was on the phone with the funeral company. I was like, wait, are you telling me that my mom died? And he was like, he's like, yeah. He's like, I didn't mean to do that over text. I'm calling so many people. Hung up with him. Obviously Grace is there with me, so I just take a long 10 minutes and I'm bawling. I texted my friend's group text saying that she had, passed away. I ended up calling my sister because no one called my sister. My sister is my half-sister. She's, my dad is her parent. She has another mom, so, she wasn't that close with my mom. But, still had to inform my sister that mom died. I remember thinking after that day that I had to be the rock to hold my family together. And I was. I was for a few months. We had a beautiful ceremony. My mom ended up getting cremated. So we had a really beautiful ceremony, and so many of my friends came. I'm still so thankful for all the ones that could come. And for the ones that couldn't, they all texted me saying that they couldn't come. My house is shaking, guys, because of the weather. Oh, perfect timing. After losing my mom, though, I had a really hard time trying to form a relationship with God again. Why didn't you heal her? Why didn't you have her live longer? I would go through times where I would just yell, and I was in therapy, and I would just start yelling. I was like, I don't understand why he would do this to me. I'm not a Christian anymore. I don't believe in God. I don't believe that he would have done this to my mom. I finally got out of that. I like to say last summer, I finally kind of got out of that. And I'm doing better. It's a slow process to get back to my relationship that I am with God, but I'm getting closer to it. And I'm really happy that I am. I still, to this day, struggle. My life isn't perfect. I love my dad, but there are times I do want to kill him, and I know he wants to kill me. And the fact that we don't have my mom makes it really hard because she was the mediator. She's the one that calmed the storm. And there have been some times that we just get really heated at one another and it gets really blown up. Something that people have been telling me for a while was to write. Well, I tried to do journals for years and years, but I never had anything to write about. Well, the past couple weeks, I started writing my mom letters in this notebook that I got for graduation. It says, all your dreams can come true with the courage to pursue them, Walt Disney, my favorite human being ever. And I just started, writing these letters to my mom. And they're super personal. If anyone ever read these, I'd get really embarrassed. But I find that I'm way more open in writing now than I used to be, particularly in these. I'm telling my mom everything that's going on. Like if she was away in another state, I just sent her a letter, and it's been really helping me. So if you're going through something like this, I definitely would suggest this. It may take time for you to end up doing it. Again, 2 years I finally started writing. Also, if you or someone you know is going through this, you are not alone, not even close. There are so many people who go through losing loved ones too, whether it's through a tragic accident, whether it was really fast, whether it took a long time, through a disease. You are not alone. After my mom died, I started looking and seeing my friends that had lost their parents, and it made me see that I will be fine. You need to think of all the good things you have in your life. What do you have? You have more in your life than you have lost, and sometimes that's really hard to believe. And ever since I've sat down and thought of what I do have, I have my dad, I have my sister, I have Grace, who's like my sister, I have all my close friends, I have everything, I have a great future ahead of me, even though I don't know what's going to happen in my future. I think for me now, I have the future, and that's something that I'm trying to look forward to. I have so many opportunities that are coming up in my life, and I'm just really excited. And even though my mom isn't here physically, she is still with me. I still have to think that she's here with me 24/7. She's with my dad 24/7. She's still a constant part of our life. And there are so many times where I can hear my mom's voice. Whenever I start missing my mom, I think of things that I got to share with my mom. All of our memories, all of our happy times. So, yeah. I know this is probably going to be a really, really long video, and if you still stuck to this point, I applaud you, and I'm going to try to make happier videos. I just felt very needed to film this video. I've been feeling like this for over a year now. I need to sit down and film. And if this could help one person, or even I feel like it just helped me talking about it, that's the thing that counts the most. So I love you guys so much, and I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your day, and I hope to see y'all real soon. Bye.